Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2017 State of the County Address, hosted by the Greater El Paso Chamber of Commerce. Please rise for the presentation of colors by the El Paso County Sheriff's Honor Guard, followed by the singing of our national anthem, performed by Miss Leah Gifford.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. Please remain standing.
Order, halt. Ready, two. More time. March.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President and CEO of the Greater El Paso Chamber of Commerce, Richard Dayu. Mr. Dayu began his career with the Chamber in 2003 as the Chief Operating Officer. In 2004, he assumed the position of President and was selected to be the Chamber's President and CEO in 2007.
Thank you, Celeste. She forgot to mention I was born in a log cabin in Illinois, right about the same time Abraham Lincoln. That was a joke. You can laugh. Okay, apparently not if I have to explain them. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. We appreciate you attending on what is finally a beautiful fall day in El Paso. We've been a little overdue. So thank you for being here today and for, I guess, battling some of the weather conditions related to travel on the freeway this morning. Thank you. And thank you, Leah. That was a beautiful rendition of the national anthem, a beautiful voice coming out of a very tiny young woman. Please join me in thanking her again. Your chamber is proud to host this event for what is now the 7th annual State of the County Address. We're pleased to provide our investors and the greater El Paso community the opportunity to learn more about where the county is headed and the progress that has been made. The county has been very supportive of the Chamber's advocacy efforts, including providing representation during past Chamber advocacy trips to Washington, D.C., our biannual state legislative trip to Austin, and our intercity visits, most recently to San Diego and the Tijuana area. It is absolutely essential for the business community to remain well-informed about the county's work. Commissioners' Court sets the tax rate, I think everybody knows that, not only for the county government, but also for the county hospital district. Due to the strong working relationship that the Chamber has developed with Commissioners' Court, and specifically our county judge, the Chamber has been able to share its members' concerns over county issues that impact our business community. Before we begin lunch, we'd like to thank a number of our community partners that generously support this event. Today's event would not be possible without the commitment of each of you, and most especially our sponsors. By the way, great turnout today, so thank you all. Please hold your applause until I've read the entire list. Our platinum event sponsors include Atkins Global, Tannenbaum Engineering, Delgado, Acosta, Spencer, Linebarger, and Perez, Destination El Paso First Health Plans, International Bank, our star sponsors, ADP, Endeavor, the Borderplex Alliance, Chase Bank, Charter Communications, Clear Channel Outdoor, El Paso Behavioral Health, El Paso Children's Hospital, El Paso Disposal, El Paso Electric Company, El Paso Times, the El Paso Water Utilities Public Service Board, First Light Federal Credit Union, Freeport McMoran, GECU, Helen of Troy, Hospitals of Providence, Hunt Companies, Hub International, Kemp Smith, KTEP, Job Materials, Jordan Foster Construction, Las Palmas del Sol Healthcare, the Myers Group, Peter Piper Pizza, Pride Industries, River Oaks Properties, Security Service Federal Credit Union, Texas Gas Service, Tigua Inc., TVO North America, the Hilton Garden Inn, United Bank, Wells Fargo Bank, Western Refining, Western Technical College, Weststar Bank. Our gold sponsors, Texas Tech University Health Science Center of El Paso, Emergence Health Network, BBVA Compass, and our silver sponsor, Life Ambulance Service. Please join me in sharing our appreciation. Please review the event program for a full listing of the event sponsors for today's event, corporate and otherwise. You may notice that that list continues to grow, and I think that is a reflection of your interest and active participation in making El Paso the success that it is, and your energy and enthusiasm and optimism for the future of this community. We also appreciate that several elected officials and dignitaries have taken time to join us today. Please hold your applause until I recognize the entire group. And of course, I want to make a note that we may overlook someone, for which I want to apologize in advance. Our keynote speaker today, the County Judge Veronica Escobar, and her husband, Michael Pleaders, Mayor of the City of El Paso, the Honorable D. Margo, and his wife, Adair Margo, State Representative Joe Moody, State Representative Lina Ortega, Consul General of Mexico, Marcos Lucio, County Commissioner Vince Perez, County Commissioner Carlos Leon, County Commissioner David Stout, City Councilman Peter Schwarzbein, City Councilwoman Alexandra Anejo, and just as a personal note, it's great to see your husband here with us doing better. City Councilwoman Cassandra Hernandez-Brown, City Councilwoman Claudia Ordaz Perez, City Council Member Henry Rivera, City Councilwoman Sissy Lizarraga, El Paso County Sheriff Richard Wiles, our Chairman, Mr. Jack Chapman, and our Chairman-elect, Mr. Stephen Posinger. Again, join me in a round of applause in thanking them all for joining us today. Please enjoy your lunch. The program will begin very shortly. Thank you.
Please welcome the Chairman of the Greater El Paso Chamber of Commerce, Jack Chapman. Mr. Chapman serves as Westar Bank's General Counsel. With more than 35 years' experience in El Paso's legal and business communities, Mr. Chapman brings extensive experience in corporate investments, management, and restructuring.
Thank you very much for attending this afternoon. I think we've got a crowd of 600 people, which is quite admirable. They've come out to see you, Veronica, so this is terrific. Before we go any further, I want to say thank you to Ruben Vogt for the sophisticated background music that we are enjoying today. It's quite a surprise and very pleasant and soothing. And one more piece of business, Jonathan Hunn from Senator Cornyn's office made a special trip out today to attend this luncheon. He was not in the room when Richard was recognizing the dignitaries in the crowd, and I want to thank Jonathan for coming out down and up and back. He's been in Houston and Rockport with the senator's office seeing to the cleanup from the Hurricane Harvey. Thanks, Jonathan. We appreciate it. Thanks again, and it's my pleasure to introduce our county judge, Veronica Escobar. A native El Pasoan, she is honored to serve a second term as El Paso County Judge, having previously served one term as County Commissioner for Precinct 2. Judge Escobar has spent her professional and civic life working for nonprofits, in education, and now local government. While on the court, she has dedicated herself to addressing some of the county's most pressing needs, to include, and I worked with her on this, as did Ted Houghton, who is in the crowd, the county mobility plan, which is pretty darn innovative and did a lot for improving mobility in the county. She's also worked on expanded access to affordable health care and modernizing the county government. Judge Escobar received a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1991 from UTEP and a Master of Arts degree from New York University in 1993. She and her husband, Michael Pleaters, are the proud parents of Christian Diego, a college freshman at Harvard, by the way, and Eloise, a high school junior. Judge Escobar is the recipient of many prestigious awards and accolades for her leadership and service to our community, and her accomplishments include 3 articles published in the New York Times. I invite you to read about her full list of awards and accolades in the program. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our county judge, Veronica Escobar.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to apologize. I brought up some hot tea because I am, this is probably every person's fantasy, a politician who's about to lose her voice. So I'm on the verge of losing my voice, so I brought up some hot tea, so forgive me if I have to take a drink every now and then. Before we get started, I want to thank KTSM for their simultaneous broadcast so that El Pasoans who couldn't be here today will be able to join in and watch. And so KTSM, thank you so much for that great community service. And my thanks to each and every one of you. I cannot tell you how grateful I am that every year the crowd grows and more and more and more of you feel like you have a stake in county government and you want to be here with us to hear about the great work that we're doing. So thank you to all of you. To the Greater El Paso Chamber of Commerce, thank you so much, Jack and Richard and your team. It takes a lot of work to put this event together and to prepare for this day. Richard, I have to tell you, I'm going to miss you. I really am so grateful for all the incredible support you've shown the county. And through the years, even as we've had our disagreements and we've not always seen eye to eye on things, we've been able to disagree agreeably. And that's how debate and discussion should be. And you've really done a tremendous job leading the chamber. From the work you've done with El Paso Days to our trips to DC for the advocacy, you've really set a high standard, and there are big shoes to fill. So thank you, Richard. It is so hard for me to believe that this is my 7th and my final State of the County address. These events have been really important to me, and while I'm so excited about the future and whatever the future holds for me and my family, these last few weeks I've been doing an awful lot of introspection and a lot of reflection. And it's so incredible. I know it sounds cliche, but it is really incredible how quickly time flies. And the last 11 years that I have been fortunate enough to spend in county government have gone by in the blink of an eye. As I've been preparing for my departure, I've been cleaning out my desk, and I have found all sorts of little treasures along the way. I have found old newspaper clippings with headlines that I would like to forget. I found search warrants from the old FBI days, not of my office, from other offices, but I kept them. I found some really angry emails from constituents that I printed out as reminders to help keep me grounded. Although, I'll tell you, as I found them, I kept thinking, I really didn't have to save them. I get new ones each week. I've come across also really sweet, beautiful notes of encouragement and inspiration that I saved for those moments when I needed to feel reassured. And as I've rummaged through all of that, and as I've recalled challenge after challenge at the county, terrible headline after terrible headline, I came to understand why we have been so successful at reform as an organization. Of so much that there is to be proud of at the county, I think what I am most proudest of, or most proud of rather, is our willingness to acknowledge the worst situations and embrace them as tremendous opportunities. That's not easy to do. And I mentioned it a little bit in last year's speech when I said the problem is never the problem is if we don't face the problem. And many times when we are confronted by some glaring or embarrassing issue, it's almost instinctive to deflect or to deny. And none of us is immune to that. It's human nature. And when there are so many eyes on you, it's easy to understand why you'd want to retreat into that. The far more difficult thing to say is, yes, this is bad and we need to fix it. And the county, more often than not, has said, yes, this is bad and we need to fix it. And that's been so good for us as an organization. It's been good for you as a community. And I want to give you an example, just one example of this. When I first became a county commissioner in 2007 and began my tenure at the county, there were a number of painful headlines about our medical examiner's office. And the news stories actually about that office preceded our administration, and it preceded the medical examiner who was currently employed at the time. And just for some context, you should know the medical examiner's office is a really critical component of county government. But it also is not just an important function in county government, but it is also the cornerstone in our criminal justice system. And families in the midst of terrible tragedy depend on that office as well. So when I began my tenure as county judge, we acknowledged that we had a terrible credibility and performance problem in that office. We acknowledged that we needed to face the issue head on and deal with all of the issues that had accumulated over the years. We knew it would not be easy. Not only did we have a vacancy to fill in that office, but because there is a national shortage of forensic medical examiners, forensic pathologists, we knew we would have a limited pool of candidates. Additionally, the office had not seen much investment from prior administrations, so we knew that raising the standards at that office would be very costly. And our poor staff had really grown beleaguered. They had grown beleaguered from so many challenges, including having been subjected to political attacks during election seasons. So morale was low and turnover was very high. It could not have been a more difficult problem to solve. But we were determined not just to face the issue, but to solve it and to create an office that fulfilled its obligations. And while no department or division or organization will ever be immune to criticism, we were also determined for this to be an office that the community could be proud of. So we invested hundreds of thousands of dollars. We also committed to hiring the best forensic medical examiner available to us. And we agreed to take our time. We knew it would take a long time. We chose to do it methodically, not expeditiously. We also hired an additional physician as well to ensure that we were appropriately meeting the needs of our community. And we invested in supplying the office with the tools necessary for them to do their jobs. The result? We not only ended up with a highly functioning office, but of the more than 2,300 medical examiner offices nationwide, El Paso's is one of the 81 elite with national accreditation. It is very difficult to achieve that designation, but we did it. And we did it because we faced the problem head on. Now, this isn't a really sexy story or even one that most folks know about, but it is very symbolic, and I wanted to share it with you today because it's symbolic of what we had to do to create organizational excellence department by department by department. Unfortunately, and maybe even fortunately, I could give you 100 more examples just like that. Big problems that needed big solutions. And to add to those big problems, when I walked in the courthouse doors in early 2007, we were an organization without a roadmap. There was no asset plan, no facilities management plan, no capital plan, no fleet replacement plan, on and on and on. Addressing those problems took time, a lot of it, and investment, and it took tough votes to take action and at times raise taxes to fix problems that had been chronic and debilitating. As I prepare to soon walk out of the courthouse doors for the last time as your county judge, I want to walk you through the evolution and share my thoughts on where we have yet to go as an organization. While early on in my tenure, we lowered the tax rate during the economic downturn in the Great Recession. In a few of the years that followed, we raised taxes in order to address the lack of investment that led the county to having a poorly paid workforce. We had aging law enforcement vehicles. We had outdated software and technology, and we had assets that suffered from deferred maintenance. And during those State of the County addresses, I was here in front of you explaining each one of those tax increases. I walked you through everything we had to do to address those chronic problems. And because of the investments that we made, as well as a number of other really great and important business strategies and reforms, which included renegotiating contracts, internal consolidation, refinancing debt, focusing on data-driven management decisions, and looking at cost avoidance measures, we are now a financially sound organization. We have a very healthy fund balance. We have a strong bond rating, and we are one of the least indebted urban counties in the state of Texas. We have also had the same tax rate for the last 4 years in a row. So not only have we gone 3 years in a row with no new taxes, we have actually gone below the effective tax rate the last 2 years. I bet a lot of you don't even know that. That means that many of you in here and many El Paso property owners have actually seen a decrease in their county tax bill. Additionally, we've been able to fund new programs that will continue to provide a benefit going forward. We've made investments in the administration of criminal justice as an example. Investments that are going to help people, but will also save money for us over the long run. When I first started, the information available for our budgetary decisions was limited to whatever was provided to us by department heads and elected officials at the county. There was little to no data available because our technology was so outdated. We were depending on technology from 1985. I was in high school. 1985. And when I started in 2007, we were still depending on that software. But as a result of investment and significant upgrades, we now have more information and data available to us. And that is so important because it helps us make smarter decisions. We're also now focused on performance-based budgeting and making investments based on comprehensive strategic planning and policy decisions. As part of that, we're funding ongoing, previously neglected needs, decisions that will help future commissioners' courts. And we've designated components of our tax rate to directly address some of those needs. Every 1 penny of your tax rate is about $4 million. We've designated 1 penny for annual small capital asset replacement. That means that every year, 1 penny or $4 million pays for our fleet, it pays for our computers, it pays for our equipment in cash. We used to finance that, and in 2011, we changed that. And this business decision has helped us avoid paying $750,000 per year in interest. A total cost avoidance so far in that short period of time of over $4.5 million. We've also set aside another penny of the tax rate. And this one is to address our chronic stormwater challenges. You know, this morning, as the thunder and the rain was waking me up, and I love thunder and I love rain, especially in the desert, but every time it rains in El Paso, I get this fear in the pit of my stomach and nerves about what is happening to our families in the outlying areas, where we have never constructed any kind of stormwater plan that would help save them. If you have seen any of the photos of the devastation that homeowners in both those valleys have to face every time there's rain, I want you to know it's even worse than what you see on TV or in photos. Seeing it up close is truly heartbreaking because those photos don't fully depict the magnitude of the destruction. And so for us, it was important that we do what we can to address the need in the outlying areas for stormwater management. It's going to take hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's going to take many, many years. And it's going to take financial collaboration from all other jurisdictions, including our water districts. But we've been in conversations with them, and everybody's ready to be good partners, and we know that that penny will help us get started on about $50 million worth of stormwater projects. Ours is the first county administration to tackle this chronic and devastating problem. We also have the $10 transportation fee, which Jack alluded to, and I want to thank Ted Houghton and Joe Moody and so many others who made this possible and made it a reality. That fee is dedicated to funding 13 current projects, and it will fund projects going into the future to help keep our growing community connected and competitive. So many of these decisions, and I could give you more examples, but so many of these decisions required tough votes. And they required tough votes because they came with the cost. And that cost is always an easy target of criticism. But I am so grateful to the courageous and forward-thinking members of the Commissioners Court who took those tough votes with me. Not only did they not run from those decisions, they took the time to defend them and explain them, and they never ran away from them. Without them and their backbone, today we'd be in exactly the same place we were years ago, managing your county government one crisis at a time. We are enjoying the kind of success that we have today because of their courage, their political courage. Now, financial health is obviously one of the strongest facets of government, but the structure, management, and the integrity of the organization are also a foundation for success. When I first ran for county office, included in my platform was a commitment to professionalizing county government. I wanted us to do that through central management. Now, that's obviously very challenging with county government in Texas because Texas set up counties specifically to be decentralized. They are unlike municipal governments. And so the idea of uniform policies and the idea of uniform procedures is kind of the antithesis of county government. Sorry, I just lost my place. I just wrote this like this weekend, so I apologize. A few years ago, we had a majority willing to implement the county manager form of governance. And even those who were reluctant at first have publicly recognized the value of professionalizing our management. Betsy Keller and centralized management and the work that she is doing creates stability, it creates continuity, and it creates a vehicle for policy-based decision-making. As a result, we've been able to implement other changes to strengthen the organization, making it more accountable to us, the governing body, but more importantly, more accountable to you, the taxpayer. But most importantly and fundamental for any organization, and especially for government, is for it to have a strong ethical core. Without it, government is too easy to manipulate for the benefit of a few instead of for the good of a whole, and it's what allows corruption to take root. We've made it a priority to safeguard the taxpayer through reform, instituting ethics rules, and providing avenues for reporting concerns and complaints. El Paso County is still the only county in the state of Texas to have an ethics commission, a commission that had to be approved through the legislature. Again, thank you, Joe Moody, and to members of the legislature who helped us. Through our Ethics Commission, we have a process that ensures that individuals can lodge complaints against us, elected officials, or against employees or vendors who are in violation of our code. We also have a hotline that allows folks to let us know if they think fraud, waste, or abuse is taking place. The county set a standard requiring county elected officials and county candidates to place large campaign contributions on our agenda for public review. The city of El Paso followed that standard and that lead, and they have a similar requirement for their mayor and their council. And how we spend your money on services and items we buy has also been a priority at the county. That was at the center of many of the corruption trials. And we want competitive procurement processes so that taxpayers can get the best and most honest deal possible every single time. And our workforce, the backbone of any organization, has also been a priority for the Commissioners Court. I am so proud of the environment that we have created for our workforce, and I have no doubt that the Commissioners Court will continue to maintain this environment where good work is rewarded, where training is a priority, where salaries are competitive, where we honor a living wage minimum of $11 per hour, and where departmental leaders are no longer risk-averse and are instead encouraged to use their extensive experience and their professional judgment to solve problems and to plan for the future creatively. Building a financially and organizationally strong government doesn't just protect the taxpayer or ensure that your money is being used in the most effective way possible, but it creates a government that can help build a better community. I've spoken in prior State of the County addresses about the challenges El Paso has had as a community, where we were 15 to 20 years ago, before the business, civic, and political communities came together to address El Paso's own chronic issues. Together, we have lowered the unemployment rate, and we've increased wages. Together, we have worked to fight against misinformation that is damaging to us. Together, we've worked on economic development and quality of life. I'm very proud of what El Paso County has done to improve our economy, and really the only reason we've been able to be a partner with others in building a stronger El Paso was because we went through the transformation I just described. Just a few examples of the tremendous work we've done are the partnership and collaboration that we have with UTEP, using our Fabens Airport as a component of building an aerospace engineering and economic development capacity. Our focus on historic preservation, work that we're doing on a strategic plan for the Mission Trail, the hundreds of millions of dollars in transportation infrastructure projects that are building out the future of transportation. Our gorgeous, highly utilized sports park with over 140 teams and with crowds like we've never seen before. And the focus overall on improving all of our parks, on ensuring that we have something good to give back to the community, including work with our jewel in the Central Core, Ascarate Park, which is a great venue for many community events and a great place for our families. We've partnered with the city on economic development incentives. We have worked with you, Mayor Margot, and with the council on incentives that create a thriving downtown. We have partnered on incentives that have turned blight, like what existed before, for example, at the Fountains of Farah, turning blight into economic activity. And we've partnered with the city on smart growth and infill development. And we've been a major stakeholder in the Medical Center of the Americas and a vital partner to the Paul L. Foster School of Medicine. Our county hospital district, now run by the very talented and loyal El Pasoan Jacob Cintron, has also come a long way. Over the last decade that I've been privileged to be at the county, we have supported the investments that have allowed UMC to grow its service lines, offering El Pasoans more care in advanced endoscopy, ortho, neurosurgery, and neurosciences ICU, cardiovascular ICU, a hospitalist service line, a geriatric unit, and in what is a critical component not just to health but to criminal justice, an in-house sexual assault nurse examiner service. UMC's nearly 2,900 employees take excellent care of our community. Over $340 million in bond projects over the last decade have provided El Pasoans thousands of construction jobs. And our projects, all of them on time and on budget, have helped modernize our facilities, construct new ones, and add jobs to El Paso's healthcare sector, one of the most important economic development drivers that we have. And probably most importantly, it has increased El Pasoans' access to affordable healthcare. But just as important as the health care that UMC provides, I really love reminding folks that UMC is the partner for our medical school. Since 2007, when I first took office, UMC, we have supported this through the Commissioner's Court. UMC has contributed almost $600 million in contracts to Texas Tech. On average, UMC has welcomed more than 70 new Texas Tech residents every single year. And El Paso Children's Hospital, which is now a subsidiary of UMC, it employs 1,023 El Pasoans, and it offers services to our littlest warriors. And those services are in the areas of hematology, oncology, orthopedics, cardiology, craniofacial, and diabetes. It has an outpatient clinic, an infusion clinic, 24/7 pediatric emergency department, 24/7 pediatric hospitalists, 24/7 pediatric intensivists, a NICU, pediatric transport, and the Child Life program. That hospital, my friends, is doing exactly what we wanted it to do. And that is attract subspecialists and keep our kids and their families here. Prior to opening its doors, about 650 children every year and their families had to leave El Paso to seek access to care. Since El Paso Children's opened, that has been reduced by 80%. 80%. Thank you. I agree. And I can tell you, just on a personal note, when I was a caregiver of someone who was very sick for a short period of time and who is now well, we had to leave El Paso to seek care. And it was traumatizing for my family, it was costly, and it was one of the most difficult periods of our life to have to leave the care and comfort of those people who loved us and took care of us. So to have those babies and their mamas and their dads and their tias and their tios nearby, that is incredible. Since opening its doors, El Paso Children's Hospital also has partnered with Texas Tech Medical School, and those contractual arrangements are $12 million a year. So that's been $60 million. You add that to the $600 million from UMC over the last decade, and that is an impressive investment in our medical school and in our future. And I emphasize this as a reminder of the commitment that we made as a community when we said we wanted a medical school, when we said we wanted to grow our own doctors. That means not just supporting it through our words. That means supporting it through our deeds and our dollars. It was one of the most beautiful components of the El Paso vision, and we should all be proud of the kind of investment UMC and Children's is making in that medical school. I want to again thank the volunteers for both of those boards, some of whom are here. They have given so freely of their time. They are navigating very, very treacherous waters right now. There is so much uncertainty in healthcare funding, and every time they turn around, there's more bad news. There's more state cuts. There's more reductions in reimbursement rates. And then there's the uncertainty of what's going to happen with the federal government, where there are no promises that they can depend on. But it gives me tremendous hope and confidence that at the helm of those institutions are El Pasoans who love this community, El Pasoans who understand the importance of that economic engine that is the healthcare sector, and El Pasoans who I know are going to do the right thing for the right reasons and face those problems head on. I want to also thank Jacob and his team for their leadership. There is still so much for the county to do, but it is time for a new era in county government. My hope is that the next administration continues to push our strategic priorities and adds to the impressive list of accomplishments that we've put together since the dark days of the past. I believe the next natural step for the county is to tackle affordable housing, and Mayor, to work with you and the council on more infill development. As unusual as it may sound, I think that would be the most creative way to approach what we're seeing happening in the outlying unincorporated areas of El Paso County. Access to affordable housing is a critical component of preventing colonia-like development in the unincorporated area. And while there's some beautiful and great development happening out in the county, we are still prohibited from regulating substandard development in the unincorporated county. And so people go out there seeking their own home, seeking a better life. And so the only way that we are going to prevent that kind of substandard housing is for the county and for the city to partner on creating affordable housing inside the city, where people can live near existing schools, where they can live near jobs, where they can live near mass transit, where they can live near grocery stores and hospitals. I also hope that the Commissioner's Court continues to focus on quality of life, an area where there are still so many opportunities ahead, and a component of building a vibrant and healthy community. I hope the county builds a soccer stadium. I believe that would draw crowds of binational and international attendees, and it would feed the support and enthusiasm that this region has for that sport. We have seen the incredible renaissance with Southwest University Park and the Chihuahuas. Can you imagine what soccer could do for our community? I also hope that the court continues to work with other stakeholders and creates an ambitious and visionary plan for our historic gem, the Mission Trail. There is so much exciting work ahead, and my successor, both the temporary one and the one who will be elected by the people in March and in November, my successor will inherit an organization that is light years better than the one that I inherited. I am so proud of the time and the work and the collaboration that went into making that kind of real change happen. I mentioned earlier in my speech that there were painful headlines that exposed corruption and dysfunction at the county. Those headlines were very important. They helped to create that change. That reporting kept El Pasoans connected to what was going on. Those headlines kept everyone in all jurisdictions accountable. I am very concerned about the future of our local newspaper. We cannot be a thriving community without the sunlight that the El Paso Times brings to local government. The paper recently took quite a blow, and I am fearful that we may become a major American city without a strong investigative newspaper. If that happens, we all lose. Now, I hope you'll indulge me a little bit at this point as I take a little creative license and share some personal remarks with you as I begin to conclude. The last several weeks have been bittersweet for me. I am really going to miss the county. And I want to thank every elected official, every member of the judiciary, every department head, every county and hospital district employee. Working with you has been the honor of a lifetime. We have been through so much together. Betsy, I feel tremendous comfort knowing that you are there to be the fearless leader of the team. And I have complete confidence that you will ethically and professionally execute the vision of the court with integrity and pride. Thank you for caring about El Paso as much as you care about the organization. That makes all the difference in the world. To our county attorney, Joanne Bernal, Joanne, you are my hero. Your brilliance never ceases to amaze me, and your loyalty to the county is unmatched and inspiring. You and the team you have assembled are true public servants, and I have been fortunate to have had the privilege of working with you. To my colleagues on the court, Commissioners Leon, Stout, Perez, and Haggerty, thank you for being leaders this community can be proud of. Thanks for that pause, I needed that. Thank you for standing up for our constituents in an honest, devoted, and hardworking way. Thank you for always demanding accountability, not just of the organization, but of each other. Thank you for serving this community. I have been so proud to serve alongside you, and I am eternally grateful for your friendship. I'm really going to miss you. To my team, Ruben, Celeste, and Nicole, you've been a little army unto yourselves, executing our office's vision with enthusiasm and with complete loyalty to El Paso. I am so proud of the work they have done and will continue to do, and I have been so lucky to have been surrounded by their tireless, positive, and pure dedication. I love you guys. A month ago, at the end of August and at the beginning of September, within the course of 1 week, I quit my job, one that I love dearly, and my husband and I boarded a plane and dropped off our kids, including our daughter, our baby, at college. Not only are we now empty nesters, but everything that I've known for a long time is about to change. And as I've reflected on what our community has accomplished together, and I know I've said this before, we do not celebrate the positive results we've seen over the years enough. I know there has been so much angst around how we should grow as a community, and there's been much debate about our future. But those of you who have attended my past State of the County addresses know that I love to reference history, and I always do that in the context of talking about the future. We cannot forget that history, because it is a guidepost and it is a reminder of where we're headed and why. So, because it's so important for us to stay connected with the past, allow me to retell a story that we all know. El Paso, up until the late 1950s, was once a leading American city, surpassing our Southwest competitors in population growth, in income, and in educational attainment levels. But we all know that we went into decline. And when we did, we lost jobs, we lost talent, and that spiral didn't stop, and it was devastating. That happened in our generation. We paid a very heavy price for that. And we paid a heavy price for that for too long. And the reason why that devastation continued was because of inaction. It was fueled by inaction. As a community, though, at some point we finally had a reckoning. And we finally acknowledged that we had big problems, and that these big problems required big solutions. 20 years ago, when we were reeling from high unemployment, when we were losing that talent, when we were losing those jobs, our community came together. And we came together to determine our own future. And let me remind you, we made those big decisions together. Yes, there was not a vote, there was not an election, but people came together under the auspices of Unite El Paso. Our community finally stood up and said, enough was enough, that the decline was unacceptable, and that we were gonna all have to pitch in and do something. We said we wanted a medical school. We said we wanted a thriving downtown again. We said we wanted great schools, great jobs, and better quality of life. And we said we wanted government that we could be proud of. So much of what we're doing today is, in my eyes, an homage to the El Paso of the past. And when I think of what we're working on together, especially downtown, in my eyes, we are working to recapture the glory days of the community that we once were and that we lost. When our community came together in a call to action, we called on each other to join the effort to turn our dreams into reality. We knew that we were going to need people in decision-making places and in position-making jurisdictions. We wanted them to come together and make tough decisions for us. We said we wanted that. And the success that we've enjoyed has been remarkable, but we are far from done. While unemployment and salaries are moving in the right direction, we're not quite there yet, but it has been a community effort. I showed this to you last year, and I want to show it to you again as a reminder. On the left is where the national unemployment average has been for the last decade. On the right, El Paso. When you look at where we were when we started on this journey, and when you look at where we are now, that is success, and it did not happen organically. It took all of us pulling in the same direction to make that happen. But there's still work to do, and there's still institutions in need of strong ethical leadership, and there are still unsolved problems that, left unaddressed, will drag us down. We cannot forget why we started on this journey together. We cannot lose sight of our fairly recent history, when we struggled to keep those jobs and those companies in El Paso for our people. It wasn't that long ago. I am so proud of everyone who has pitched in, and there's far too many to name. But as I was thinking about this and thinking about all the great work that's been going on, I think about people like Zach Paul and Gina Martinez Hirsch and their group Splendid Sun Productions. They are the young people who put together Neon Desert, that fantastic and hugely successful outdoor music festival that takes over downtown El Paso during Memorial Day every single year. They put their money, they put their passion, they put their love of El Paso to work for our youth, for our downtown, and for our economy. And I think about people like Jim Ward, an incredibly talented El Pasoan who makes his music and his business here in El Paso when he could live anywhere in the world. He wears his El Paso pride on his sleeve and in his tattoos. I also think of local philanthropists who have put their personal wealth to work downtown and who have helped grow our medical school and that glorious campus. And I think about all the physicians I've met along the way who grew up in El Paso, who left for school and for opportunities elsewhere, but who came back to work in our beautiful children's hospital because we gave them a place that would honor their life's mission. So many great folks doing their part who aren't in it for personal glory, but who instead are in it for the long haul and for the love of El Paso. Before I wrap up, I want to share a little story with you that to me is an example of our success. Last year, when my daughter was still here, I'll tell you, it's just as a quick note, my kids, through their youth, had sat at the head table watching their mom. We'd take them out of school to come and watch their mom listen to what's happening at the county. This is the first year that both of them are away at college, and it just, that also made me cry, so forgive me. But I want to share a story with you. Last year I told you that to me, success was knowing that their generation wants to come back to El Paso. But let me tell you about the next step that we took that I learned about this weekend. I was a speaker at the Texas Tribune Festival on Saturday, and so I got to attend an event in Austin hosted by a couple who was honoring Congressman O'Rourke. And I met a ton of people there, mostly from Austin, and most of whom have never been to El Paso. But I will tell you something incredible, and something that made me so proud. As I was meeting and mingling and talking to folks, it suddenly dawned on me just how mesmerized they all were by El Paso. They've been reading so much about us. They've been watching what's been coming from our community very closely, and they were eager to learn more. And of course, I was eager to tell them more. I loved telling them about the power of our community. I loved telling them the story of how we pulled ourselves out of a slump to make magic happen. El Paso has been through a pretty remarkable evolution, and others are taking note of it. I got into this because I was eager to pitch in when I heard that call, when I heard your call. And it is all of you that have given me the most rewarding professional experience of my life, being your county judge. And I have nothing but gratitude for all of you. I'm so grateful for how all of you selflessly pitch in to make this a great community. I'm grateful for the long-term commitment you've had and the hard work that it takes to raise the bar. I'm grateful for the rigorous debates about our future. I'm grateful for the accountability that you have come to expect. And I'm especially grateful to the big dreamers who demand more for our community, no matter how hard getting there can be. Thank you, my friends. Thank you so much for allowing me a place in our spectacular journey. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I remember when the State of the County address started at the top floor of the DoubleTree Hotel, and it's come a long way since then. Thank you for your service, Veronica. You've done a terrific job.
Thank you.
And good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
We have a couple more things to give the judge, and then we'll let you go back to work. The first thing I do want to say is that tonight, despite the cloud cover, you should still be able to see the beautiful star on the mountain, which will be lit in honor of the State of the County address and in honor of you specifically, Judge Veronica Escobar. Thank you.
So much. Thank you very much.
And Ruben, I think you have something special to give?
And Judge, on behalf of Celeste, Nicole, and I, thank you for being the best leader that a team could ever ask for. We will miss you deeply, but we know that you're off to do amazing things for our beautiful El Paso. We love you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, just very quickly, I'm reminded, in fact, I heard Evan Smith use this analogy in Austin last week, where he talks about the iceberg sticking the tip out of the water. What you don't see is the gigantic iceberg. Read into that the work that went into this event by our staff, Cassie Flores, our entire chamber staff, Ruben, Celeste, Camille, all the hard work that they've done. The reason it went off so smoothly is because they did their job so well. So join me in thanking them for their efforts as well. Thank you. And I believe that wraps up our program for the day. Be safe out there. Have a great, wonderful fall day. Thank you for being here.